All right. We got a bunch of people today. Let's go ahead and get started. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today for this webinar, Cut Costs and Drive Revenue with Embedded BI. Got a lot of information in this webinar, a couple cool demos. And at the end of this webinar, hopefully you'll see that Embedded BI is a perfect solution for the majority of companies, of applications, on how you can deliver digital transformation, amazing experiences, in-context data, better decision-making, etc., to your customers. So my name is Jason Barris. With me, as usual, is Casey McGuigan, product manager for Reveal. And then online, we have Jesse and JJ and some of the other folks who are available to answer questions during the webinar. So today's agenda, we'll look at the understanding embedded BI versus traditional BI, leveraging embedded BI for revenue growth, and then how can you use BI to actually make decisions, some housekeeping. Please ask questions in the window. I'll keep an eye on it over in the other monitor here. And of course, if you have questions afterwards, if you want a follow-up meeting, just shoot us an email. Our emails are in the slide and you'll see them at the very end as well. So let's go ahead and get started. So we want you to lead digital transformation with Reveal. Reveal is different than other solutions on the market. It is a purpose-built SDK for embedding analytics into your application. When you think about something like Power BI is a hosted BI solution. It's running up in the cloud. All your data is within the context of an Azure cloud instance. Like, you don't have control over every aspect of it because you're using cloud-based tools. An SDK is different. You put an SDK into your server application and into your client application, and with Reveal, you're delivering this full-featured self-service BI experience. And the nice thing is with an SDK, everything that you see on the screen, and you'll see in my demos today, you can control through properties, through events, through functions. So you have that complete control over the experience. And when we look at surveys that we do, and in fact, we're going to put the link to our yearly survey in the slides later, you'll see you can actually win some money by taking the survey. But customer satisfaction is a key piece of why companies embed BI in their applications. So you want to be able to give your users the ability to make business decisions in the context and workflow of what they're doing in their daily job, in the main application that they use. They don't want to be jumping all over the place to different apps, task switching, losing context. And of course, we lose hours and weeks a year context switching between applications. So when you have BI embedded in your application in an amazing experience, your users are making decisions faster in context in the flow of their work. And that is a key piece of why companies embed BI into their applications. And one of the sort of myths of embedded BI is that it's a lot of work and it takes all this time to deploy. We've had deployments in as little as 1 week. In fact, we had a POC that was over in 2 days, but the average time is about a month, of deployment, right? A POC is average time is 2 weeks. So getting this into your application, building out dashboards, building out templates is not that complex. And what we're doing with Reveal is we try to make that developer experience really great so that it's not a lot of work for you to do something really special for your customers. So let's take a look at some of the key points here of embedded BI versus traditional BI. So embedded BI, yes, like we just said, it's integrated directly within your business application, offering those real-time insights within the workflow of the user. Traditional BI, standalone systems. So I have to go from my application to another system, and then that other system has some stuff, but it's really not connected to what I'm doing in the moment right there. So you lose a lot of time, you lose a lot of context. User accessibility. So if you are embedding BI within your application, everyone has access to those decision-making visualizations, dashboards at any level of the company. For traditional BI, it's a walled garden. Like over there, the data analysts have access to it. The guys in IT, or only the power users, because you have to pay more for these hosted systems for each individual user. With an embedded BI, you shouldn't be paying per user because it's embedded in your application. The whole idea of your application is to scale and grow. So with Reveal, it doesn't matter if you have 10 users or 10 million. The price is the same. If you are looking at a solution that's embedded, that's charging you per user, it's not embedded. It's a hosted service, and they're trying to cover their cloud costs. So keep that in mind. And in fact, when I do demos with customers and they start talking about, oh, well, I do this with this type of application, like, yeah, if a hosted service has all of your data, they can do a lot with your data. But usually you don't want them to have your data in your business app. So that's where embedded comes into play. So integration with business process. So of course, if it's embedded in an application, it will seamlessly integrate into the context and workflow of that app. And traditional BI is, of course, independent. The same problems as we have with user accessibility. And then customization and flexibility. I'm going to show you some examples today. I think 2 or 3 samples, they look completely different. And the reason is when you're working with an embedded BI product, you should have complete control over how it looks, how it behaves in your application. It should feel like it's built into your app, not bolted on. So I see a lot of organizations say they have embedded BI. They don't have embedded BI. They have an embedded iframe to their hosted system. And in that iframe, Looker is a good example. You can maybe customize some colors, but that's about it. You don't have an end-to-end API on the experience. I just had a call with the customer and they said, I don't want the user to have an edit option on a visualization. No problem. With an embedded BI SDK like Reveal, there is a property setting. Can edit equals what? True or false. So you do have control over how you deliver every aspect of the experience when it comes to a real embedded BI tool, because you have a client API, a server API. And of course, cost and resource allocation. Embedded BI reduces the need for additional resources and training, often leading to lower overall costs. And then, of course, traditional BI, we're working with a very large organization right now, and they already have a BI solution. The problem is you need a PhD to know how to use that BI solution. It's so complex that they need to do custom training, and certain people need to learn how to use the system so they could just build out simple dashboards. And in fact, someone I know went with a large hosted BI vendor, and automatically on the invoice, there was another $10,000 for training. So if you actually need to pay to get trained on how to build a dashboard to give to your end users, how are your users going to be able to view, edit, create their own dashboard? So, you're looking at very high costs. Besides cloud costs, the need for training and additional hardware, et cetera. And then finally, data sharing and collaboration. So when you have BI embedded in your application, everyone's looking at the same thing, right? If you're looking at a report for, monthly sales or year-over-year inventory for certain products, the person next to you has access to that same visualization, that same report. So you can collaborate more. And with something like Reveal, you can do neat things like, we have built-in annotations on screenshots, and you can email those off. You could send a link to a visualization, and then someone else could actually view it. So there's all kinds of ways that you can do that. And then with traditional BI, again, a lot of BI tools today do have a lot of built-in like sharing. I want to share this report with the next guy, but what if that next guy doesn't have access to the system because you don't own a license for that individual. So that's where you often run into these problems. So understanding embedded versus traditional is really important, and understanding what you want. We're an embedded BI vendor. After this presentation, you may not want embedded BI. You may want a hosted system, right? So I have this conversation all the time with customers. I had someone last week saying, why are you better than Power BI? Well, we're not better than Power BI. Power BI has 10 million features. You might want just one of those features that we don't have, but Power BI is not an embedded piece of software. It is a hosted SaaS software that you can stick a dashboard through an iframe or a GUID into your application, but you're still using Power BI, and you're paying per user, and you're paying for that cloud service. So you have to know what you want too. It really all depends. So when we look at how can embedded BI drive revenue growth, so we talk about, like, I am just a business, and let's say you're a consulting company or you're an enterprise and you want to deploy BI embedded to your users. Like, how do you actually get revenue growth out of it? So when we think about data-driven market analysis, you go from insight to action. So I want to use embedded BI to analyze market trends. What's the action out of there? Well, we have a meeting with the marketing department, and we are going to target unmet markets, right? So, or unmet customer needs, so we can grow in a certain area. This happens all the time. When you're using data to make decisions, the world opens up to you. You're not doing everything based on the loudest guy in the room or just a gut feeling. You can drive new opportunity, enhancing the customer experience. We talk about this a lot. Like, think about, a customer that might have a legacy application that really doesn't understand what's going on with their customers. With BI, you can analyze customer interactions with data to understand preferences and pain points. So we use a tool that tracks every single click on a web application, right? We have a product called App Builder, and App Builder is a developer tool it's a low-code developer tool. And we want to know who's clicking here, who's clicking there. Well, what the data collection tool does is it's putting all this stuff in a database, and it's a SaaS-based tool. We don't own the tool. It's another third-party company. It's just, collecting data. So now we have that data. So how can we map that up with other data that we have from other sources to drive a better customer experience? And that's how we're using Reveal internally at Infragistics. We use Reveal in our product called Slingshot, which is a digital workplace product, but it uses embedded BI. So we're driving customer sat through analytics. Then, of course, cross-selling and upselling opportunities. We can look at a customer, understand their purchase history and preferences, and then we can create those targeted offers. You might say, well, wait a minute, we have Salesforce. We're doing the same thing. Yeah, if all of your data is in Salesforce, great. Most companies, all their data isn't in Salesforce. So how do I get data from Salesforce, complement it with all the other systems of record that we have, and then analyze what's going on with customers and drive cross-selling, upselling, etc. And then finally, forecasting is really important. In Reveal, we have statistical functions that allow you to do forecasting, regression, time series-based forecasting, and that just allows you to anticipate change. The other thing that we do in Reveal is we let you connect into your own machine learning models. We support Azure ML and Google BigQuery ML. And so if you're using either one of those and you already have models up in the cloud that are running, you can apply your data to those models and then visualize those afterwards. So then why move to embedded analytics? This is a great example of like the before and after. So before, manual data analysis is time consuming and prone to errors. We hear this all the time. Like this left-hand column is what we hear from customers or prospects. And then the right-hand column is what we hear from them after their customers. So that's what's interesting about this data or this slide is that, yeah, this is the before and this is the after. So embedded BI automates routine data analysis, allowing staff to focus on more strategic tasks. The delayed decisions due to slow data processing. This is a big one. You know, being able to pull up a dashboard at any time on your phone, on your iPad, on your PC, at your desk, in a taxi cab to see data is how you need to run your business or your team. And you could do that with embedded BI. Another one we constantly hear is we don't want to have IT have this huge backlog of dashboards or reports. We want end users to create their own reports. Great. Reveal, our whole mantra, our whole design goal is simple and beautiful. And you're going to see that in my demo. It's easy to use and it's absolutely beautiful. So the funny thing is, even prospects that don't turn into customers, they've told us you have the best looking and easiest to use tool on the market. But maybe we didn't have a data connector they needed, or maybe they needed something very specific that we didn't provide, so they didn't go with us. But non-technical users is the goal of a product like Reveal for embedded BI. And then finally, before I had this legacy UI, UX, I want to actually digitally transform my company. How do I do that? Well, I can do that with modern, beautiful dashboards. That can drive new revenue and subscription models. So think about this. We have customers that have added Reveal to their existing, let's say, legacy product, or a product that maybe has run its course, but it's like still a cash cow, right? So how do we add more value to not only our subscriptions, but our customers? Let's add modern dashboards and analytics, and let's give people 10 reports for free or read only, and then we can charge more. We can charge more for features like editing. So if you want to do self-service, maybe add that as an add-on to the subscription price of your product. So you don't have to just look at it as I'm modernizing, I'm automating, I'm giving users, you know, the ability to self-serve. You can look at it as changing your business model as well. And we absolutely have customers that do that. They've modified their business model to look at Reveal as an add-on into the existing application so they can drive more subscription revenue. So let's take a look at a demo. I have a few things that I want to show you. The first example here is, this is a sample I did for a presentation at a financial services conference I did over in May. And this is your typical line of business application, right? I've got a list of customers, or in this case, I have a list of stocks on the left-hand side. I've got a data grid of positions over here. This has like different contracts, and I can interact with this. And this is all built using Infragistics controls. And I mentioned our low-code tool. I actually built this with our low-code tool. But what I want to do is here in this button, I want to show the visualization or a dashboard for each one of these individual stocks. So when I click into the dashboard, and of course, it takes a second to load up because it's in my free Azure instance, so I didn't actually rev up the engine before. But what I just did is I jumped over to a dashboard. So this is in-context analytics for the stock that I selected. In this case, it was the LKQ Corporation. And this is all of the data and all of the dashboard information for LKQ. If I go back and let's look at UMHA, and I'll select UMHA, it'll pop up the dashboard for UMHA. So what I'm doing here is I am offering in my application, in context, dashboards and visualizations based on, you know, just the flow of what a user is working on. So a user here can see like all of the stock data for this particular guy. They can look at it in different ways. They can see all of the normal data you'd have in your line of business app, but they can also get more analysis with in-context workflow. In this case, I'm looking at a dashboard. Everything that you see here from banking risk down is a Reveal dashboard. How do you know it's a Reveal dashboard? Well, let me expand this. Now I have the full-size visualization. If I want to look at the table data that makes up this visualization, I can do that. If I want to click the overflow, maybe I want to export this to an image or Excel, I can do that. If I click edit, now I'm in the dashboard editor. And I can modify this just like that with simple drag and drop. Maybe I don't want a bubble chart. Maybe I just want a column chart. And there we go. I can modify this and this is where we get into that simple and beautiful, where look at how easy it was to do that. I didn't have to do anything fancy. Anyone can do drag and drop. It's that easy. Anyone can select a visualization type to modify the way something might look. You can modify properties on individual items. But this, and I'm going to close this out. I'm not going to save it. I'm going to discard my changes, and I'm going to minimize this guy back down, and I'll click the X to close it out and just get back to the view part. This is a very rich dashboard with a ton of detail and information. And it's all built with drag and drop, and it's all within the flow of my app. And in this case, I also added a button over here for analyze. When you click analyze, it will also bring up the analysis in this dashboard. Now, I also built another screen in this particular app. This is like a preview screen of the dashboards that I have in my server. So if I want to look, for example, at logistics, I have an open button, and I'll click the open button. And then here is my logistics dashboard. You can see shipment status, shipments by criticality. Here's a table of critical and high-low stuff. This is a shipments and cost dashboard or visualization. Maybe I want to expand on this a little bit, look at the underlying data that makes this up. Maybe I want to go into edit mode here, and I don't want to look on chart 1 at shipments. I want to look at compliance rate, and now I have compliance rate versus cost. I'll change this to compliance rate and cost, and I'll click the checkbox, and I'll do that, and I'll click the checkbox, and now that's automatically saved on the server. So just like that, I have updated my dashboard. If I go back and let's take a look at maybe the manufacturing dashboard, this has a few more visualizations in it. I've got these types of visualizations here for each line. I've got some KPIs. I have my overall units produced. I have a tree map visualization here, so I can drill up and drill down into individual products with this tree map. Pretty slick. Looks like I've got some time series visualizations here, and expand this guy out. I can zoom in, and you can see I've just got nice visualizations here. Maybe I want to do a time series forecast of 12 seasons. So now this is forecasted, all of the data here on the right-hand side. You can see in my tooltip that these are the forecasts for the months going all the way to December of this year. So this is where you get into that statistical analysis, forecasting. Very straightforward, very easy to do with Reveal. All of this is built in. And in fact, none of this requires code. Everything that you see that I'm interacting with is part of our client JavaScript library. And so it's all available to you without doing anything different. Now, I have another application that I did for a demo in a webinar a couple weeks ago called the HR Portal. So again, HR Portal is another sample that we ship with our low-code tool. What I did is I added a reports tab, and the reports tab has all of my dashboards that I have up on the server. So this is a different style of application. So this application is like one of these apps that's full screen. You know, I might even run this on multiple monitors. It's got a lot of information. My HR Portal is much smaller screen, right? It's like I could actually run it on an iPad like that, and it would look great. You know, everything would be just right there. But now if I look at how visualizations look, they look exactly like they would in my other app. But in fact, this visualization, banking risk, is the same as this visualization. But you'll notice that it just renders a little bit different. So here I've got this visualization here, this text visualization, some KPIs. Here's my risk range. Here's my map. If I look at it here, it just looks a little bit different because it's responsive, right? it goes, to the size of the screen. And here, if I go into edit, I have the same edit capability that you saw earlier. Now I'm in edit mode, same exact thing that you saw earlier. So you're not limited to what you do based on the screen. And here, if I select a couple of these other visualizations, you'll be able to see that they all look great. And they're all just, displaying within this application. So this is a different style app. It looks different. It's branded and themed differently, but this is Reveal, right? You have complete control over how it looks in your application, all the fonts look, the colors of the visualizations, etc. And in fact, if I jump over to a new browser instance, I'll go over to the Reveal docs. And if I go to learn and I'll go to the developer playground, let's go down to the set theme example. So this is an example of a dark theme. This is the mountain dark theme. I'm going to change this from mountain dark to ocean dark, and I'll rerun this. And you'll notice that the back colors are all the same. It's just the chart series, it looks a little bit different. Now, if I go to clone an existing theme, you can see now this theme looks very different. I'm changing the font, the accent, the dashboard background color, the visualization background color. So I'm changing a bunch of different features here and including the theme of the series in the chart. And then to do a completely custom theme, here I'm using wingdings and just looks really bad. But anyway, we're trying to get the point across that this is the level of customization that you get with Reveal. And in fact, this developer playground is great because, it kind of shows you some different things that you can do. Remember, I said everything's controlled by an API. So let's say I want to show maybe PowerPoint and Excel. I'm going to set Excel and PowerPoint to true, image and PDF to false. I'm going to run this. Now, if I go here to my export, PowerPoint and Excel are true. And then you're like, oh no, we don't want them to use PowerPoint, or no, we don't want them to use Excel. So let's just set Excel equal to false. I'll run this again, look at the overflow, and look, it's only PowerPoint. So again, it's an SDK, it's an API. You have the ability to control what's happening here. And in fact, here, you've got this edit button. I don't want that. Let's do reveal view dot can edit equals false. And in fact, we just did a webinar on all of these features. So take a look at the webinar from last month and you'll see all this in action. But now look, edit is gone. If I go to export, only PowerPoint. You can make completely read-only dashboards just through the API. And then finally, I'll show you one more example that's up on our website called Up Media. Again, this is one of those full screen views where I've got all of my visualizations here. The area in the black up here is like my application code. So I'm clicking on dashboards to show them here. I got manufacturing, campaigns, marketing. In this case, why don't we go ahead and show like a nice feature like export to Excel. Remember, I disabled or enabled this. If you want to enable something like this, and maybe we don't want to show the spend versus budget visualization, I'll export this. And now if I open this up, you can see that not only do we export the data, but we export a chart as well. So here, if I go to chart design, you can see this is a native Excel chart. So we're doing like above and beyond. But again, if your users can't handle that, just disable it. Can't export to Excel equals false. And then in this case too, you'll notice I've enabled some richer tooltips here. So you'll see I have a filter option as I hover over each bar. And in this case, I'm hovering over India. It says filter by India. So now it's filtering all of the other visualizations by the territory of India. So now spend by territory is only India. Conversions is only India, but maybe I want to do India and I want to filter by diamond. So now the data's even like smaller and smaller as I'm doing these filters. You can see here we have just diamond. If I select this guy and I click open campaigns, Here I am in the campaigns dashboard, automatically filtered by diamond. I'll go back and you can see that I'm back here. Now let's close out these guys here. And now I'm back to just my dashboard. And then finally, from a dashboard creation process, I want to highlight this. I'll click plus visualization. I've wired up this new dashboard screen to Excel file up in the cloud. We have like 30 data sources in Reveal, but let's go ahead and use like revenue and profitability. And I'm going to select that data. Now I have my field list, and this looks just like when we were in edit mode. So maybe I want to do company and I want to do revenue by company. So here I have revenue by company. You can see this is like lots of zeros. I want to use something called large number formatting. So I'm going to set it to auto, and I'm going to say that this is a currency, and let's update that field. And now you can see that I've got my currency updated. It looks good, but I only want, no, I guess that's okay. I don't want to show my legend. So let's uncheck that. And let's change this to revenue by company. And that's how easy it is to start building out a new dashboard. Now, I want to use the same data source. Most dashboards use the exact same data source. They're just looking at different data in that data source. So let's go and duplicate that visualization. I'll go to edit. Now let's do something cool like a map. I'm going to do a choropleth map here. I'm going to do a map of the United States, and we'll do a states map. The location will not be company. It will be state, and we'll do revenue by state. So let's change this to revenue by state. And I challenge people, anyone, to say they could build this quicker and faster, even with other tools. This is so easy to do that it's crazy. And maybe I want to do a category like map color. Maybe I'll do it by division. So now I've got revenue by state, by division. Looks like there's a lot of nulls there. We'll get rid of that. Doesn't look good. We'll check that box. And then finally, let's duplicate this again. And we'll do one more visualization here. I'll edit this. And instead of the choropleth map, let's do a tree map. Those are always interesting because you can do levels of hierarchy and, then drill into those hierarchies. So in this case, I have company, division, state. Maybe I want my top level to be state, and then I want to go by division, and then company within that. We'll do revenue like so. This can be revenue by state, division, company, and I can check the box, and there we go. I'll give this a dashboard called revenue analysis. And just like that, I've created a new dashboard. It's saved up on my server. I've got all the data I need to make my decisions. I have all this stuff like filtering automatically built in. Like there's all the companies in New York. Now New York just showed up on the map. All of this is part of the client-side library. So that's how easy it is to create dashboards, to view dashboards. And then in my other examples, looking at the different user experience that you can offer to your customers based on what your application looks like or what you're trying to achieve in your app. So with that, let's go back to the slides. So what I want to do now is we have a poll, I believe. We may or may not have a poll. I don't have the poll button on my screen. So JJ or Jesse, if they're up, there we go. The poll popped up. So please answer the poll. It helps us drive the right decisions in the product. And again, everything that you answer goes right into how we look at building features for your application. So why is Reveal the only choice for embedded BI? Well, I've shown you a bunch of reasons, I think, after you see the entire demo today, like, hey, I want to modernize my application. I showed you some beautiful applications with Reveal embedded. So not just, oh, here's a dashboard, like here's a real app. And in that real app, I have this. Increasing customer satisfaction. You're making decisions in context within the flow of your app. That's the goal when you are delivering BI to your users. Why would you use something like Power BI, where not only are you paying probably double and triple in cloud costs, you need a PhD, you need the Power BI PhD to actually learn how to use the product, but you're leaving your application to go do data analysis. I mean, maybe that's great for a data scientist, or I don't even know who it's great for, because you want to make decisions in the flow of your app, right? And with tools like Power BI and others, it's out of context, or it's an embedded iframe solution with the hosted back end. And then lastly, you can definitely drive new revenue. So you can drive revenue through happier customers because you have a more modern application that delivers really rich functionality that's needed in the market, or you can create a new revenue stream with Reveal and charge extra. One of the questions that popped up, clients considering Power BI, how can we differentiate? Well, that's easy. I've given you a ton of ammo already in the webinar today, but if your client has unlimited money, which I've never met anyone that does, even the biggest companies, then go with Power BI, because I guarantee you that the entry cost is a minimum of double what you would pay for Reveal, double, and then it goes up from there because you're being charged per user and for cloud costs. So, and you're required to use the Microsoft ecosystem. Maybe you have an application with a Java backend, an Angular front end, and you use Snowflake as your data source. Why on earth would you use Power BI? So, why would you force your customer to get Office 365 accounts for every user and blah, blah, blah. Plus Power BI is very hard to use. And then there was another question here about creating a dashboard that pulls data from an e-commerce as well as from a Amazon store. So we don't have a Magento, or Shopify data connector, assuming they have a REST endpoint. Reveal supports REST endpoints for all those data sources that we might not have a native connector for. So you would use the REST endpoint. And again, I go back to our average times to get a POC done is around 2 weeks. You could get it done in as little as 2 days. It might take as long as a month, but everything I showed you here is very easy to do and very straightforward. So share your insights and win $100. The annual survey is finally out. Of course, the annual survey is highly sought after by publications once we actually publish it every year, but we need your input to help drive not only the BI market, but the embedded BI market, the application development space. The Reveal annual survey is something that we would really appreciate if you took the time to answer a few questions, and then you'll get entered to win a $100 gift card. Jesse has added the link into the webinar chat, so please take a look at that. And then to wrap it up, download the Reveal SDK today at revealbi.com/download SDK. We have a lot of resources up on GitHub. We have tons of webinars online, tons of videos online at YouTube. If you go to YouTube at Reveal BI, you can experience all of that yourself. But what we really want you to do is to contact us, and we will go through a deep dive demo. We'll walk through how Reveal works. We'll try to understand your use case. And at the end of the day, our goal is to get you up and running with embedded BI in your application as quickly as possible so your customers can experience everything that we showed you today, which is pretty awesome. And it's very exciting when you start delivering out these really modern features to customers with embedded dashboards. You'll just see a lot of happiness coming from them. So if you have any questions, shoot me an email or shoot cmcguigan@infragistics.com an email. And with that, I believe we've answered all of the questions. I just answered them live. There was a couple in the chat we answered. Looks like we got a majority of folks who have answered the poll questions. I really appreciate that. So with that, we do a Reveal webinar every 2 weeks. So keep an eye out for the next Reveal webinar. And I want to thank you very much. I know you have a lot of options with your time. If you're in the US, I hope you have a great Thanksgiving week, and we will see you at the next webinar.